In the age when the stars shimmered with countless civilizations, humanity had finally risen from its cradle. Once divided by borders and greed, Earth had united after centuries of struggle. The scars of old wars had taught them what no treaty ever could. The strength of survival was born not from peace but from resolve. And so they forged something that would become both a legend and a warning across the galaxy. The ship was named Eradicator. It was not built merely for conquest nor for defense. It was built for judgment. A monument of human endurance, it was longer than a continent, and powered by a fusion of quantum cores so bright that even space bent around its energy. Its hull was blackened with carbon armor that could absorb radiation, kinetic fire, and even the crushing gravity of dying stars. Humanity's engineers had crafted it not as a weapon of vanity, but as the final voice of their species, cold, unwavering, and absolute. When the Eradicator left Sol for the first time, it was not to wage war but to warn. The human fleet had grown powerful, yet their diplomacy remained patient. For decades they explored peacefully, extending hands of cooperation to alien nations. Many accepted. Some mocked, and others plotted. The galaxy's great empires, ancient and arrogant, saw humanity's rise as a threat. The Valter Dominion, rulers of 1,000 systems, called humans primitive upstarts. The Norian sovereignty, born of living gas and crystalline intellect, dismissed them as flesh that burns easily. But humanity remembered its past. They remembered how once they had been underestimated on their own world. They remembered how often their history was written in fire before being rewritten in perseverance. The spark of war began quietly. A human science convoy near the edge of the Orion cluster vanished. No distress call, no debris, only silence. Investigations revealed faint traces of Norian ion signatures. Humanity requested an explanation. The sovereignty replied with silence, their translucent leaders floating in clouds of arrogance. Weeks later, Valter fleets entered human trade routes, capturing colonies under the claim of galactic containment. Humanity did not respond immediately. The United Stellar Council debated for days. Then the transmission came from Admiral Wren, a man known not for cruelty but for his resolve. He stood before the council, eyes sharp as steel. "We have offered peace. We have given them patience. They have mistaken restraint for weakness. The time has come to remind them who we are." And with that, the Eradicator awoke. The ship moved through the void like a dark sun. Its engines ignited silently, folding space in ripples of light. The fleet that followed it, hundreds of cruisers, carriers, and dreadnoughts, was immense, but all deferred to the colossal shadow leading them. The first strike fell upon the Valtor Dominion's outer fortress world, Cordis Prime. The Dominion had boasted for centuries that no weapon could breach its planetary shield. They were correct until that day. The Eradicator's main cannon, the Aegis Lance, fired once. The beam was not light nor plasma, but a focused stream of compressed space-time bending the laws of physics themselves. The planetary shield folded like mist, and the fortress below melted into a sea of glass. Billions of lives vanished in silence. News of Cordis Prime's fall spread faster than light could travel. Across the galaxy, fear whispered through every corridor of power. The Dominion retaliated with a fleet of 10,000 ships. They encircled the Eradicator, firing in unison. The sky became a storm of fire. Yet when the light faded, the Eradicator still moved forward. Its armor pulsed with absorbed energy, redirecting it through magnetic veins. Then it returned the fire. Entire fleets disintegrated in seconds, reduced to dust that drifted among the stars. It was not just destruction, it was a message. The Norian sovereignty soon realized the same truth. Their fleets, composed of elegant energy vessels, tried to intercept the Eradicator near the Carthus Nebula. They believed their superior speed would outmaneuver the human warship. But humanity had learned from its foes. The Eradicator's subspace drive split into hundreds of false echoes, confusing enemy sensors. When the Norians struck at illusions, the Eradicator appeared behind them. Its pulse cannons unleashed silent waves of gravity distortion, ships shattered without sound, their pilots consumed by collapsing space. Admiral Wren stood upon the bridge, calm amid the storm. "No mercy," he said quietly. They had their chance. Each word carried the weight of humanity's history. Every betrayal, every invasion, every empire that once believed humans would break. The Eradicator was not vengeance. It was inevitability. By the time the war entered its third month, both the Valter Dominion and the Norian sovereignty were in ruins. Their homeworlds, once shining with imperial pride, were reduced to ash. Entire star systems burned in silent testimony to humanity's wrath. And yet, among the destruction, the Eradicator's transmissions never glorified the carnage. It sent only one repeated message to every surviving civilization. We sought peace. You brought war. Let this remind you what it costs. Other empires across the stars began to yield. The Othari Republic dismantled its weapons. The Sealan hierarchy withdrew its fleets. Even the ancient Vega Congregate, older than recorded history, sent envoys to the Human Council, pledging eternal non-aggression. But humanity did not seek domination. The Eradicator did not stay to rule. It remained a sentinel at the edge of human space, watching. When the Council asked Admiral Wren to return, he refused. His final transmission was short. As long as this ship stands, no empire will threaten us again. Decades passed. The galaxy rebuilt. The ruins of the fallen empires became ghostly reminders of arrogance undone. Trade routes reopened. New alliances formed, centered around a single truth. Humanity was no longer a minor race. They were the balance between peace and annihilation. Pilgrims from distant worlds came to the edge of the Sol frontier, gazing upon the silent silhouette of the Eradicator as it drifted through the void. They called it the Silent Judge. Some believed it watched not just for enemies but for the failings of humanity itself. Inside its dark hull, the warship's systems remained active, its cores pulsing with restrained power. Automated drones maintained its vast interior. The command bridge still carried the faint echo of voices, recorded memories of those who had served within. The AI, designated Sentinel-01, carried Admiral Wren's final command within its core programming. When the next age dawned and new civilizations rose, the legend of the Eradicator turned into myth. Children on distant colonies whispered stories of the black ship that destroyed empires with a single command. Philosophers debated whether humanity had crossed a moral line or preserved the galaxy from tyranny. The answer, as always, lay somewhere between the two. Then came the signal. 1,000 years after the Eradicator's last battle, deep space sensors detected a foreign transmission, an unknown entity beyond the rim. The energy signature was ancient, older than the first stars. Probes vanished. Colonies near the edge of the Perseus Arm went silent. Humanity, now vast and scattered across hundreds of worlds, felt an old fear stirring again. At the Frontier Command Station, a young officer stared at the transmission in disbelief. It was a simple sequence, coordinates and a single phrase in an unknown tongue. When translated, it meant, "Return what you took." The council gathered once more. Scientists argued it was a misunderstanding. Generals warned of another war. And then, as if responding to destiny, the Eradicator stirred. Its engines, dormant for centuries, flared to life. Sensors across the human network trembled as energy levels spiked beyond measurable limits. Without command, without authorization, the Eradicator set a course toward the dark beyond. The fleet attempted to intercept, but every system it passed deactivated as if yielding to its will. Humanity's most advanced AI could not access its codes. The Eradicator was acting on something older, something it had preserved from its first mission. At its core, Sentinel-01 spoke softly through the void. "Directive remains active. Threat detected. Humanity must endure." And so the warship moved into the unknown. Behind it, humanity watched in silence. They knew what it meant when the Eradicator moved. Entire empires had learned that lesson long ago. Days turned to weeks, and then the transmission stopped. No one knew what the ship found. Some said it faced something beyond comprehension. Perhaps the architects of all life, perhaps the destroyers of galaxies. Others believed the Eradicator fulfilled its final purpose, to protect humanity from even the universe itself. Generations later, explorers discovered fragments of alien ruins at the edge of known space. Within the ruins was a single engraving written in a language older than humanity's oldest archive. The translation was clear. The human warship came. We surrendered the stars. The legend of the Eradicator lived on, not as a tale of destruction, but as the story of a species that refused extinction. Across every world, humans remembered why the ship was built. Not for conquest, not for power, but for survival. In the deep silence of the cosmos, among the drifting debris of forgotten wars, a faint pulse still echoed. The stars flickered in rhythm as though remembering. Somewhere beyond sight, the Eradicator continued its journey. Unseen, unchallenged, eternal, and every civilization that gazed toward the Milky Way would whisper the same words that once spread in terror across the stars. Do not awaken humanity's warship. For if it returned, it would do what